Sutherland with CompHealth. I'm excited to have Dr. Wilner back with us again today. Dr. Wilner is a board-certified internist, neurologist, and epilepsy specialist, but he's also the author of The Locum Life, a physician's guide to locum tenens. How are you, Dr. Wilner?
Just great. Thanks for having me on, Spencer.
Tell me about your shirt. What's going on with your shirt today?
Well, it's always a Locums Monday.
I love it. I love it. So right now I'm in Salt Lake City at the CompHealth headquarters. Where are you at?
I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I now work at the University of Tennessee Health Science Center as a neurologist.
And that's awesome. And you're also, you worked with CompHealth for a long time. You're a writer on the side. You've done a lot of writing for us. One of the articles that you recently wrote for us was about choosing a locum tenens assignment. And I'd love for us to talk a little bit more about that today if you're up for it.
Sure. That sounds good. Good.
You've been doing locums a long time. When you actually choose an assignment, what are some of the things that you look for before you go on an assignment? What do you want in the job?
Well, I think your motivation. Why do you want to do that assignment at this time? I think it's really important to start there. For example, maybe you just need extra cash. So you don't really care too much about if the assignment's in Alaska or Florida or next door. You want to go somewhere for a week or a month, make some money, come back home. On the other hand, this locums may be a combination vacation work. So you want to pick a beautiful place where you're going to work a reasonable schedule and have time off. So it really depends, what are you looking for? The other thing that I look at now is which state is it in? That's very, very important, because obviously you have to have a medical license in the state where the assignment is. We don't have a federal government single license, which is something I'm campaigning for. As a doctor, I've had up to 13 simultaneous licenses. It's a lot of work. So now I look at the states. Like I'm working in Tennessee. Hey, any locums in other parts of Tennessee? I'm licensed in South Dakota. That's a good place to do locum. So I look at, do I already have that license? Because if you don't, you have to have some lead time, 3 months, 6 months. But if you already have the license and you see an attractive opportunity, you could just call your staffing agent and say, hey, I like that thing in South Dakota. I'm ready to go. And that makes a huge difference.
Sure. And you mentioned the agency. Now, you worked with CompHealth, you've worked with other agencies. Some doctors like to go through an agency. The majority of locum tenens doctors actually go through an agency, but some go direct to the hospital. So what are some of the pros and cons of working with someone like us versus going out and getting those jobs on your own?
Right. Well, personally, I've done it both ways. And I think a lot has to do with your experience and your comfort level. In my book, I talk about choosing an agent and whether you want to choose an agent. And finally, the research I did showed that about 80% of locum tenens physicians actually use an agency. But the simile that I use is buying a house, right? If suppose you want to buy a house or you want to sell your house, you can just do it by yourself. You don't need an agent. Why get an agent? Just show up, buy the house. But it turns out there's a lot of ins and outs about buying a house that if you haven't done it 20 times, you may not know. And I think the same is true for a locum tenens position. First of all, the agents, they know the marketplace, they know what's available. Often they've worked with a facility before, so they can tell you, Dr. Wilner, we've staffed this hospital several times before, and everybody there is really nice, and they pay really well, and everyone likes it. So all of a sudden, you've kind of got the inside track by using an agency. Agency is also a buffer. So it's sometimes I had a situation where I had worked at a place. They wanted me to work there again. I loved it there. But the salary they offered was the same as 2 years before. So I said to the agent, hey, don't you think they should pay some more? And they said, oh, yeah. So the agent negotiated with the client, the hospital, got a higher salary, and then I just got a letter. So I didn't have to get into sort of the dirty business of negotiating the salary. It was all done for me. So sometimes it's nice to have a buffer. Also, if there's a problem, you have someone who can handle the administrative issue, whatever it is, you didn't start right away or you want to stay longer, you have someone to help you. I
Right.
think I was just going to say, to be balanced. On the other hand, I had a great situation where I knew a fellow at the Mayo Clinic and wanted to hire me. Mayo Clinic, pretty responsible place. So they got me a place to live and they paid me and we didn't have any issues. So if you have a one-to-one, somebody you know, then that can work as well.
Sure. Yeah, I was talking to a recent graduate one time, and he said, when I think of my staffing agent, I think of it like as a sports agent. He's out there trying to get me the best assignment. He's trying to make sure I get paid, make sure I'm valued. And so it's a give and take. You know, if you have that direct relationship, go with someone that you know. But if you're looking for somebody to do the lifting, then you want to make sure that you've got your agent, you've got somebody that's got your back.
Well, you know, one thing I didn't mention is that when you're looking for, there's a competition for these locum tenens positions. And if you have a good relationship with your agent, as soon as that position becomes available, is going to call you and say, hey, doctor, when are you available? We got a great thing in South Dakota. I know you love to work. Before it's posted on an email where everybody can see it. So you say, yeah, I want that, done deal. And if you didn't have that relationship, you would never even know that job existed.
Yeah, same with the house listing, right? You want the agent to be getting it to you before you see it on the website.
Exactly.
Back to the assignments themselves, you know, you said state, you want to know where you're going, you need to know where you're licensed. Once you get that far and you say, okay, I'm looking for Arizona, what is it that you need to look for in that job description or the conversations that you need to have with your agent to make sure you actually understand what the rest of the gig looks like?
Right. Well, I think that's really key. And I mean, first of all, you want to get that position, but the advertisements for locum tenens positions are notoriously vague.
Okay.
It makes a big difference to me if I'm going to see 10 patients a day on average or 20. 10, I'd love to go. 20, I don't really want to go. And that information isn't really there. And I think one thing that the physicians don't always realize, because the agents are very knowledgeable of what they're talking about, is they're not physicians. They don't really know what it means to run down to the ER and do TPA or examine the patient, you know, or look at an MRI and the facility structure and things that matter to you once you're on the ground. So I always recommend, if you haven't been to a facility before, ask the agent, is there someone I can talk to, a physician who worked there sometime in the past, just so we could have a doctor-to-doctor talk. And I've done that, and that is great. You know, it's not always helpful. People are different. What worked for one physician may not work for you, but at least if there's, you know, red flags, which says, oh, I'm never going back to that place, administration wasn't very nice, and, you know, it wasn't really what I thought, then it's like, well, okay, maybe we'll look for another one. So the other thing is, there's a lot of details. Are you on call or not? If you are on call, how, do you take call from home, or do you actually have to show up? Do you have to field phone calls, you know, from patients? Do you have to prescribe to outpatients? You know, what is the extent of the job? So it's not some huge surprise. Oh, by the way, Dr. Wilner, you have to supervise these 4 nurse practitioners in addition to what we told you. So find that out up front.
Yeah, so the idea is you're trying to do your homework up front so that you're minimizing the number of surprises. But I would imagine once you get there as a locums, there's still surprises and you need to be kind of nimble. Tell me about that.
Well, it goes without saying that locums jobs are there because they haven't been filled with a permanent position. Yeah. Now, there may be a very good reason for that. Maybe they're expanding and they're recruiting and they just haven't found the right guy or woman yet, and they're ready to start. But could be deeper than that. Could be people have left, they were unhappy and leaving holes, and there's patients waiting. So I always assume that this is not going to be the ideal position. Luckily, I've been happily disappointed most of the places I've gone, which have been a lot of fun and not really a problem. Because usually they're so happy that you're there, they don't want to overwhelm you and make you miserable. Because if you leave, which you can, you know, you've got 30 days, say, hey, I'm done. This isn't working for me. then they're stuck, right? Then they got to find somebody else. And what you say about them probably isn't going to help. So I found that I've always been treated well. But yeah, this is got to be flexible. You're not there. I talk about this in my book. You are not there to fix the hundreds and hundreds of problems that you're going to find. You know, when you've worked somewhere else and you step into a new facility, you say, oh my goodness, why is X-ray over there and the ER is over there and you can't get from here to there, and the nurses, you know, they leave and nobody's covering, and you know, you could make a list within an hour of 100 things that need fixing. That's not your job. Your job is to show up, do the best job you can with what you've got, and smile all your way through it, because you're temporary. You're a temporary person. If you want to get hired full time and stay there for the rest of your life, well, start making changes. But as a locums, don't go that route. It's just going to make yourself and everyone else miserable.
Yeah, you've done a lot of things in your career. You've been in a permanent position. You've done locums. You're in an opportunity now where you're teaching and doing some full-time, some part-time. Why has locum tenens made sense for you over the years?
Well, I was kind of burdened at an early age with another passion as a writer. And so long before work-life balance was something that we discussed openly in the medical world, I needed to find time to write. And that's why I took my first locums position in 1982, you know, soon after CompHealth was started.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really sort of the thing to do. But work-life balance for me has been an ongoing battle for years. And locums, I discovered, was definitely the key to allow me to write. I've written 4 books now and hundreds and hundreds of articles. And, you know, they don't write themselves. You need time to do that. Also family time.
Yeah. So you've written a handful of books. If people head over to andrewwilner.com, what are they going to find over there?
So andrewwilner.com is the best place to contact me. And I'll mention I'm very happy to answer questions that people have about locum tenens. There's also a lot of information about my latest book, The Locum Life. It talks really in great detail about anything you might possibly want to know to succeed as a locum tenens physician. And I'll mention I just started a video series. I have 5-minute video for each chapter on YouTube. So just search Wilner and whichever top, Wilner and Finding an Agent or Wilner in the Mobile Office. It's almost done. I'm up to chapter 15. So awesome. 5 more chapters to go.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and you've also been doing this writing for CompHealth, which has been great for us. So if our folks want to go learn more about finding the right assignment, they can go over to CompHealth.com and find our blog. We'll also put a description in this post so you can find it directly. I'm going to let you go now, Dr. Wilner. I hope you enjoy your Monday, because every day feels like a great Monday when you're locum, right? You've got, even though it's Tuesday, it could be Friday. It's all good days, right?
All good locum days.
Okay, well, thanks for hanging out with us. And again, if you have more questions for Dr. Wilner, it's andrewwilner.com, and CompHealth for anything else that you may need to know about locums. Have a great day, Dr. Wilner.
You too, Spencer. Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon.